I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to ask our student board member, Ms. Rosenblum, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I always get amazed by our student board members' leadership skills. They outshine the regular board members. 1.3, approval of agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. Vote, please. Ms. Rosenblum?
Aye.
Motion carried. Section 2, special presentations, recognitions. 2.1, outstanding teacher of the year. The Board of Education honors Christina Liera, dual immersion teacher at Musgrove Elementary School, as outstanding teacher of the year for 2024. Give her a round of applause. Christina received this prestigious award from the California Association of Bilingual Education, also known as CABE, at their annual conference in Anaheim, California on February 24th, 2024. Christina, congratulations on your well-earned recognition as the CABE 2024 Teacher of the Year. We are so proud of all your hard work and dedication as a bilingual teacher in our district for 21 years. Your commitment to providing students with the tools for their future and your belief that all students can learn is truly inspiring. Your journey from being a Marine Corps sergeant to becoming a passionate educator showcases your resilience and determination in serving others. Your focus on continued learning and collaboration with colleagues and families highlights your dedication to creating a supportive and inclusive learning environment. Your impact on your students, school, and community is evident in the relationships you build and the success of your students. Your passion for teaching and learning shines through, and your efforts in promoting bilingual education and cultural pride are truly commendable. Keep inspiring and making a difference in the lives of your students. Congratulations once again. I'd like the board to go below and shake her hand and give Miss Christina Liera one more round of applause. Thank you. Congratulations. 2.2, resolution in recognition of Cesar E. Chavez Day. I'd like to ask Board Member Ceballos to read that for us.
Thank you, President Tillman. Good evening. Whereas Cesar E. Chavez, a Mexican-American labor leader in California, was a heroic figure of the 20th century who led a movement dedicated to improving the lives of farm workers. And whereas the National Farm Workers Association, today known as the United Farm Workers of America Labor Union, was co-founded by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. And whereas Chavez served in the United States Navy and was honorably discharged in 1948, and whereas in 1994, President Bill Clinton posthumously, English is not my first language, so excuse me, awarded Chavez the President Medal of Freedom, and whereas in 2014, President Barack Obama proclaimed Cesar Chavez Day as a federal commemorative holiday, and whereas the Board of Education recognizes the contributions made by Cesar E. Chavez and named a middle school in honor of this great man, therefore be it resolved, the Board of Education of San Bernardino City Unified School District hereby recognizes the many contributions and accomplishments of Cesar E. Chavez and encourages all district schools to conduct appropriate activities in observance of his birthday on March 31st.
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Medina and seconded by Ms. Ceballos. Vote, please. Ms. Rosenblum
Aye.
and Ms. Preciado.
Aye.
Motion carried. 2.3, resolution in recognition of California Adult Education Week. I'd like to ask Board Member Grande to read that for us, please.
Whereas adult education in California goes back more than 165 years, beginning with the first recorded adult school sponsored by the San Francisco Board of Education in 1856, and whereas adult education provides educational opportunities, instructional programs, and services to equip adults with the knowledge and skills necessary to participate effectively as citizens, workers, parents, and family and community members, ensuring they have the education and skills to succeed in a competitive economy. And whereas the district's Inland Career Education Center, formerly the San Bernardino Adult School, has served the community for more than 100 years with a core mission to provide a bridge to post-secondary education and the labor market through the delivery of quality education. And whereas the Inland Career Education Center provides educational support with programs such as high school diplomas, GED preparation, and English as a second language, as well as business and computer education classes, vocational and career technical education, citizenship preparation, and counseling support. Therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District joins the Inland Career Education Center and all other adult schools throughout California in recognizing March 4th through March 8th, 2024 as California Adult Education Week.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Vote, please. Ms. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Ms. Preciado. Sorry about that.
Aye.
Motion carried. You know, I didn't do this, but it's public comment, so I want to ask Miss Liera, would you want to say a few words? No? You sure? We would love to hear from you. You might give us some tips. Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot. Thank you, though. And congratulations again. Section 3, public comments. 3.1, receive public comments. This is the only time the public will have an opportunity to address the board on items not on the agenda and within their subject matter jurisdiction, such as district policies, procedures, programs, services, and fiscal matters. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. 6 or more people who wish to speak on one topic will be provided no more than 30 minutes total. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because these comments are made at a public meeting. And our first public comment comes from Ms. Barbara Cox.
Good evening, President Tillman, Vice President Ceballos, Mr. Ariano, and distinguished members of the board and cabinet. My name is Barbara Paschek Cox, and I am the Vice President for the San Bernardino Teachers Association. And this evening, I am here not only in my capacity, but also as a representative of the 3,000 committed members of the SBTA. As we dedicate this month to celebrating women's history, it is crucial that we take this opportunity to both remember and to honor the women in our lives. They embody many roles, including daughters, sisters, mothers, grandmothers, and professionals. They shape the world as we know it. Today, let's collectively acknowledge and appreciate the profound impact these women have had in our personal lives, communities, and our society. Moreover, we must pay tribute to the legacy of the pioneering women who have laid the groundwork for the opportunities we seize today. Their relentless determination and courage have carved out paths in areas previously unimagined, allowing us to lead, innovate, and nurture the next generations. Let us extend our deepest gratitude to both the celebrated and the unsung heroines, the trailblazers whose contributions have been indispensable, yet often go unrecognized. Thank you for this opportunity to honor the invaluable contributions of women past, present, and future. Together, we continue to make strides toward a future where every woman's potential is recognized. In closing, I want to remind us all of a profound truth rooted in wisdom that has traversed centuries and cultures. According to an ancient Chinese proverb, women hold up half the sky. This statement is not just a recognition of women's contributions, but a testament to the indispensable role each member plays in our collective journey. In our efforts, whether it's advocating for workers' rights, championing for fair labor practices, or striving for equality, let us remember that our strength lies in our unity. Just as the sky cannot stand if half were to falter, our objectives cannot be achieved without the full participation and empowerment of every member, regardless of gender. Let us leave here today with a renewed commitment to lifting each other up, recognizing the inherent value and capabilities of all individuals. Together, we hold up more than the sky. We hold up the very essence of our shared humanity and our shared dreams. Let us commit to being educators who not only teach, but also empower the next generation of women. By doing so, we play a crucial role in shaping a future where gender equality is not just an ideal, but a reality. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Paschek Cox. Our next public comment comes from Ms. Samantha Stackelhouse.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Ariano, Samantha from CCSA. Just wanted to give a quick reminder to the community and those who may not have heard that unfortunately due to the weather last weekend, we had to reschedule our San Bernardino City Charter Community Day to this weekend. So it will be this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We have over 15 of our charter schools and community organizations that will be there to have activities with the kiddos and to inform parents about some of the options that we have in our great city. We highly encourage any of the district staff or board to come out and show their support. We're excited to see everyone there, and thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stacklehouse. Next is Mr. Mario Ortiz.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mario. I'm a parent from Antos Elementary School, and I'm here very disappointed, in the way that my family and I've been treated. On January 25th, via Parent Square, we sent a message to the teacher. My son is actually in special education. We actually reported this picture, bruises on his right hand side, which I actually provided a hard copy to the board members. Nothing was really done. I actually had to the teacher actually had to send us a full report, which she did not do. On February the 5th, I actually sent her an email, and I also asked for administration to be at it because she didn't reply. She actually replied by the 9th day, and she stated, unfortunately, we're not able to provide a parent report due to district policy. I replied back, we're disappointed with the way you are handling things. We got the assistant principal involved from Mountain Elementary School. We also had a conversation with her, which she actually answered my questions. I also asked additional questions, which she actually took 4 days to reply back. And she replied back because I actually, sent an email. This same thing goes on. Then the principal got involved from Mountain Elementary School. I asked her questions. All the time, it was taking 5 days. And then when all this time, because I reported the bruises, I questioned the principal and the assistant principal. Did you have to submit a CPS report? And the question was, the answer was always, it's based on the judgment and evidence. By the when the teacher replied back, because I also mentioned that the information that it was actually provided, it was not accurate. So this is when February, and I'm sorry, I'm nervous, but I'm here advocating for my son. February 23rd, I sent an email to to the superintendent, asking questions. And to this day, he has not replied back. Right now, I actually provide about 29-page report, of all the logs with, date, times, timestamps. And you're able to see that, they did not follow protocol until March 1st. It was the day that she wrote back. I wrote back on March 3rd, and it seems that she was not admitting 100%. But don't believe me. Look at the 29-page report that I wrote, and until this day, I don't feel that they have admitted, nothing. I did communicate with one of the board members and asked for the district policy, because they was not admitting that that they had to file a CPS report. And all these things been going on for over 30 years, for over 30 days. And I'm just here. And I just needed to advocate for my son and for other students. And it feels bad because I was part for a school district, and I did 16 years, so I know the protocol, and I know the protocol wasn't followed. And if you read every email that I send out, it was always with respect and professionals. And it seems that they did not take this matter seriously. And the last thing that I'm gonna say is, I did put on the email, we are the voices of those kids that cannot communicate like others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have a question from a board member, Ms. Ceballos?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for coming out. I just had one question. You said he's in special education. Is he, what program?
He's actually do you want me to mention the teacher?
You don't have to. I'm more specifically asking if he's in RSP or SDC classes. Do you know?
That I don't know.
SDC. Mild, mod, severe?
Yes. And during this process, I also requested one-on-one. And I know that the superintendent was aware because I actually got involved with the assistant superintendent actually emailed me and we started that conversation, but it's like that. That's what is going on.
Thank you. And just for us, if I so I am curious to just get more information, maybe on a Friday update as to what is our process. As a parent, I think I would like to know, if something like this happens, what is my first go-to, if we can get that information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Section 4, closed session. Are there any public comments for closed session? Mrs. Cunningham?
No, there are none.
We'll convene to closed session.
People are like, you having a watch party?
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Section 5, action reported from closed session. 5.1, approval of high school vice principal.
So moved.
Be,
Oh, sorry.
be it resolved, the Board of Education approves the appointment of the following employee. Lori Reeves, vice principal, San Bernardino High School, effective date, work year, and salary to be determined. Funding 035.
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Mr. Husky and seconded by Ms. Medina. Vote, please. Ms. Preciado? Oh, sorry. I thought she voted no. I was like, wow. Okay, they don't vote on these. So for the rest of the board, vote, please. I did not. That was exciting. Like she knows her. She doesn't like her. Motion passed. DGF 23/2402. Be resolved, the Board of Education approves settlement agreement number DGF 2324-02 in the amount of $23,299. The Board of Education authorizes the purchasing director to sign any related documents.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Vote, please. Motion passed. 5.3, certificated non-reelects. Be resolved that the Board of Education has determined on an individual basis that the following certificated employees be given notice prior to March 15, 2024, that their employment with the district not be renewed for the 2024-2025 school year pursuant to Education Code 44929.21, and the superintendent or designee is hereby authorized to give written notice of this action prior to the March 15, 2024, pursuant to Education Code 44929.21. Entertain a motion, please.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Alexander and second by Ms. Medina. Vote, please. Motion passed. 5.4, certificated reassignment. Be resolved, the Board of Education has determined that the following certificated employee be given notice prior to March 15, 2024, that she may be released from assignment as principal effective at the end of the 2023-2024 school year and reassigned to an assignment consistent with her credential authorization effective at the beginning of the 2024-2025 school year, and the superintendent or his designee is hereby authorized to give written notice of this action pursuant to Education Code 44951. Motion, please.
So moved.
Been moved by Ms. Ceballos and second by Ms. Chahusky. Vote, please. Motion passed. 5.5, certificated reassignment. Be resolved, the Board of Education has determined that the following certificated employee be given notice prior to March 15, 2024, that she may be released from assignment as a principal effective at the end of the 2023-2024 school year and reassigned to an assignment consistent with her credential authorizations effective at the beginning of the 2024-2025 school year, and the superintendent or his designee is hereby authorized to give written notice of this action pursuant to Education Code 44951.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Medina,
Second.
second by Ms. Chahusky. Vote, please. Motion passed. 5.6, consideration of adoption of resolution regarding elimination / layoff and or reduction in service of classified personnel. Be resolved that the Board of Education has determined that the following classified employees be given notice prior to March 15, 2024, effective at the end of the 2023-2024 school year. The superintendent or his designee is hereby authorized to give written notice of this action pursuant to Government Code 54957. Motion, please.
So moved. I'll second.
Moved by Ms. Ceballos and second by Ms. Medina. I really missed that I can't do these motions. You know, I used to be right on it. You guys miss me.
Mr. Husky?
Five point seven, recommendation for suspension or expulsion, excluding mandatory offenses, but remanded to youth court for other means of correction. Be resolved, the Board of Education accepts and adopts the recommendation of findings of facts of positive youth development and orders the suspension or expulsion of the following students with identification numbers as listed in accordance with the board rules and regulations and in compliance with Education Code Section 48900. The students identified below were found to have committed a violation of Education Code Section 48900, for which a referral for expulsion is mandated. However, the principal found that due to particular circumstances, expulsion is inappropriate. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Medina,
Second.
second by Mrs. Alexander. Vote, please. Motion passed. 5.8. Be it resolved, the Board of Education accepts and adopts the recommendation and findings of the hearing. No, hold on. We're going to table this 5.8. 5.9.
Need a motion to table?
No. Well, yes. Go ahead.
So I move to table 5.8 till next meeting to get more information.
Okay.
The moved and second to table 5.8. Vote, please. And it was moved by Ms. Ceballos and second by Mr. Husky. There are no other closed session action items.
Mr. Biles, could you please vote on that?
It's not coming up for me. So aye.
That's section 6, student board members. Ms. Preciado.
Well, first and foremost, I would like to say good evening to all of you guys all. It's an honor to be up here once again. Just to file in a couple reports, I just wanted to kind of hit on the topic of testing. We are during the month of CAS, SATs, especially for juniors. So we're currently going over testing and preparations. But I just feel like we do need to focus more on testing and to increase our scores as a whole, because we have seen a decrease, unfortunately. And we have seen the statistics of how our testing just been going down. So I would just want your guys' input. And I would love to kind of increase an awareness of testing and finding the best way to prepare for it, so that not only me, but my peers can be able to succeed our testing.
I think that's a great idea, and maybe the superintendent, we can agendize that for a later meeting. We've been working on that. Okay. Great suggestion. Thank you. Is that the end of your report? All right, Ms. Rosenblum?
I want to get on the topic of more security for like bigger high schools, because I see like how hard security works. So I would just want to be able to make sure that they, like, bigger high schools have more security than smaller high schools.
What school do you attend?
Pacific High School.
Okay. So you suggest you need more security or less?
Like maybe 2 more securities.
At Pacific?
Yeah.
Because it's one of the smaller schools.
It's
So
one
you-
of the larger schools in the on where it's because it's Pacific and Sanji. So I think we just need like maybe 2 more security at school, because it's a larger campus.
Okay. Thank you very much. Section 7, Administrative Reports. 7.1, California Community Schools Partnership Program Presentation. Mr. Ariano.
Thank you, President Tillman. And I believe we have Dr. Rodriguez online, who will be taking us through and giving us and the community an update on the grants that we have submitted for the California Community School Partnership Program. So, Dr. Rodriguez, take it away.
Great, thank you, sir. Coming all the way from Mercedes, Texas, I'm very glad to be able to present to you an update on the district's journey on community schools. We have been on this journey now for about 2 years, and so we would like to give you an update. Next slide, please. In 2022, our district received a 2-year planning grant to be able to assist us in determining which schools may be a best fit for the community school strategy. During this time period, we worked with an organization to be able to work with our schools and our educational partners to determine which schools would be the most ready and the most in need of this intervention. The strategy of community schools form a school into a hub where school educators, community members, families, and students are working together to create conditions and a climate and culture that will foster student learning and healthy lifestyles. Next slide, please. In the community school concept, there are 4 pillars. And first pillar is integrated student supports, expanded learning, and enriched opportunities for students to learn. Pillar 3 is active family and community engagement. And pillar 4 is collaborative leadership practices. All 4 of these pillars have been determined by research to create the conditions necessary for students to thrive. Next slide, please.
Dr. Rodriguez, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
That you turn off
Yes.
your video, because
Okay.
you turn it off, it'll require less bandwidth and you'll be clearer. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the suggestion. Okay, slide 4. So as part of the planning process this year, the school district contracted with Glenn Price to facilitate community schools the planning process. During this process, we discussed with our stakeholders the concept of community schools, and we learned about different schools in California, as well as sending a group to the national conference. We did assessments to determine whether schools were ready for community school implementation. And so during this process, all schools were invited to participate, but these particular schools were selected based on stakeholder involvement, meaning students, teachers, parents, administration, as well as making sure that they had community partners that were vested in their success. The schools that were submitting for grant in this cohort were Pacific High School, Sierra High School, Anton Elementary, Emerton Elementary, Norton Elementary, and Urbita Elementary School. This grant would or could provide over $9 million over a 5-year period to these campuses. Next slide. At this time, I would like to pass it over to our partners in this work. I'd like to introduce Aaron Price, who is the president of the Glenn Price Group, Jennifer O'Neill, O'Donnell, which is our senior associate, who is also with the Glenn Price Group, to share some highlights and recommendations from our report as we went through this process. Jennifer.
Thank you. And thank you to the school board for taking the time to hear from us and for the opportunity to work with this district and really get to know people and know all the great things that are happening. So in the discovery process, which is really just our way of saying, figuring out what's going on, what people want, what they need, what the strengths are, and what the priorities are for improvement. We conducted 3 different activities. So one was we had meetings with a guiding coalition. This was made up of district administrators, school principals, site level staff, CTA representative, community partners, and parents. And we met between September and December, and they reviewed school data, provided feedback, established selection criteria for the schools, and really formulated a bigger picture of vision for community school strategy in San Bernardino. The next activity, and the one Aaron's going to talk a little more about, is the district-wide survey. So we conducted an online district-wide survey of students, family, school staff, and community partners. It was promoted through district email communications, at district meetings, and through the district's website. And it generated a total of 4,467 responses, which is on par with some of the other big surveys that this district does. And I think the largest response we got was from students at over 3,000 responses. And the next largest was almost 800 responses from staff. And staff includes certificated and classified, as well as district administration. And then about 530 responses from families and 24 responses from community partners. So after that survey was complete and we were able to look at some of the results, we held a parent and family input session that took place during the January Superintendent Parent Advisory Council meeting. And participants were presented with an overview of some of the results and had an opportunity to share what they thought when they saw the results. Did they agree? Did they not agree? Were they surprised by anything? And then add to and help us better understand those survey responses. In addition, all schools, as Dr. Rodriguez mentioned, were encouraged to explore participation in the implementation grant application for community schools. There were a couple of things they needed to do. They needed to hold at least 2 community school meetings to introduce the strategy and also to review some of their own data and determine really whether their community was interested and ready to participate as a pilot community school. So what we're going to talk about today, and the report that's attached to your agenda, do not go into detail about the individual schools, but information about the pilot schools in their priority areas can be found in the Appendix A. So next I'm going to hand it back to Erin, over to Erin, to give you some of the key takeaways from the Guiding Coalition and the survey.
Thanks, Jennifer. Sorry for the delay there, just getting unmuted. Good evening, all. As Jennifer mentioned, just going to go through some of the highlights that came out of this process, specifically from the Guiding Coalition and from the district-wide survey that Jennifer just mentioned. You can go ahead and get into the next slide. One of the discussions that we really engaged the Guiding Coalition around was thinking about what are the district assets, strengths, existing infrastructure systems that we want to be mindful of in engaging in this planning work around community schools. And you can see on the slide some of the key responses: community partners, the academic supports, strong high school pathways noted as a strength and an area for further attention, for further building and strengthening, partnerships with higher education institutions in the area, openness to connecting with family and community, positive youth development, a focus on family engagement, the professional growth systems that are in place, intentionally making space for collaboration time during the day, and specifically the Teachers of Color campaign was noted as an asset. We can go to the next slide. We'll see some of the needs that this group, the Guiding Coalition, identified. Broadly, wanting more resources and supports, increased volunteer services, more attention to sustainability of different programs, fostering more of a college-going culture and support for alternative post-secondary options, and thinking about how some of the assets mentioned on the previous slide could help in that regard. Early academic intervention as an additional need, programs and cultural enrichment activities, supports that are focused on specific student populations and family populations, increasing the frequency of engagement. We noted on the previous slides some assets around family engagement efforts, but also wanting to build on that with more frequent engagement. Increasing the visibility and awareness of resources that are available. Specifically improving collaboration with families within the African American community that the district serves, and setting clear roles and responsibilities for staff and administrators. So that was a main focus of some of the discussion that the Guiding Coalition had, just to think about across the district, not specific to any one school. What are the assets and what are the needs that we should be mindful of in this community schools planning work? The next slide will take us into some select results from the survey. And as Jennifer mentioned, there's a more complete report that's attached to this agenda item that goes into greater detail and is more comprehensive set of results from the survey. As a quick reminder, there were just under 4,500 survey responses, the majority from students, but also strong representation from staff and from families, as well as a couple of dozen community partners. So one of the questions that was asked in the survey is, what does your school do best? And the most frequently selected option across groups is this second row here: caring and supportive teachers and staff. High quality teaching was one of the top 3 options for families and for staff, but not for students. And overall, really that caring and supportive teachers and staff was notably higher across all the groups. If we go to the next slide, we have another result that we wanted to elevate for you all. And in this question, respondents were asked to indicate yes, no, or I don't know. And what the table is showing is the percent of respondents that indicated yes, responded to the statement saying, yes, this is true for my school or my child's school. And the statement with the highest percentage of respondents that said yes from students, family members, and staff was that the district schools have an environment that welcomes and celebrates diversity. There's not a substantial variation here, but there's a little bit of a range in terms of the percentages. Students in particular gave fewer yes responses to statements that their school has an environment of respect and collective responsibilities and one in which they feel safe and cared for. And family members gave fewer yes responses to their child's school having opportunities for students to take over their learning and enrichment. If we go to the next slide, we also asked a couple of open-ended questions. And as you can imagine, we got great, many pages of responses. And we wanted to share some themes from a couple of the questions. So on the left side of the slide, you can see what gets in the way of student learning and succeeding at your school. And on the right, as we think about those barriers, what are ideas that might help address them or remove them? Right now, for this high-level presentation, we're not differentiating between whether a student said this or a family member or a staff member, but it is broken out that way in the report. So on the left side, what are things that might get in the way of student learning and succeeding? Concerns related to what happens in the out-of-school time, distractions or a learning environment that's disruptive, bullying, challenges related to technology, and challenges related to instruction and ensuring that students have the support they need from teachers. Ideas for how we might think about addressing, mitigating, removing these barriers, more extracurricular activities, attention to safe and clean schools, increased support from teachers and staff, mental health, behavioral health access, improved communication between students, families, and staff, and thinking back to what we also heard from the Guiding Coalition, improved teaching and instruction, more resources broadly, and thinking about a lens of student motivation. And if we go to the next slide, the final slide in this portion, before I hand things back to Jennifer, we asked, what would you most like to see improved at your school? And the way that this question was structured is that respondents could select up to 4 of the available options. And the percentages are the percentage of respondents that selected that item as one of their 4 votes in this. The most frequently selected options for students, family members, and staff was mental health services, so elevating that here. Also noting that there wasn't a kind of runaway winner in this. They're all pretty close in the percentages. Involved families in the school community was the top option for school staff, but wasn't in the top 3 for students or family members. And high quality teaching was in the top 3 for students and family members, but not for staff. So again, mental health services seem to emerge as something that was important across all responding groups. And then there's some priorities that are maybe a little bit different by group. So again, just wanted to elevate a few key results and themes coming out of the survey and what we worked through with the Guiding Coalition. The report certainly has much more detail. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you. So I get to share with you some recommendations that we came up with. Next slide, please. And next. These are based on all of that work over the last year. So the work with the Guiding Coalition, the surveys, looking at school data, talking with families. So recommendation 1 is to strengthen opportunities for relationship building and shared decision making among students, families, staff, and community partners. So we know there's already opportunities for people to be engaged and provide feedback, but look for even more opportunities to bring those groups together and really have an opportunity to take ownership over some of those decisions that impact the school. One example could be also even thinking about offering opportunities for input for those who are not comfortable speaking in public or cannot attend meetings. So having a variety of ways that people can provide their input and engagement. Next slide. Recommendation 2, again, the district already has a lot of great things in place for mental health services, but increasing the availability and timely access to getting those services and programs, and also policies, school-wide policies, district-wide policies that promote well-being. And next slide. An important part of community schools is this idea of leveraging community partnerships. So we saw in some of the comments about we need more resources, we need more support. One of the ways of doing this is to leverage community partnerships to provide more resources and opportunities. So we know there's limits to time and funding, and these partnerships could help expand that. Next slide. One of the things we didn't expect to hear necessarily, but came out pretty loud and clear in the student surveys and family surveys was this need to address bullying and students' concerns about it. And one of the ways to do that, it could be to really involve and elevate student and family voice in the solution. So working together to come up with a solution that works. Next slide. Again, this is something the district already does, but continue to invest in academic excellence through high expectations for students. And then this was actually something that scored a little bit lower in terms of happening at schools, to explore innovative curriculum and instruction that really reflects students' cultures and identities. So that is very much in alignment with the community school strategy and also came up as something that the community wants to see. And last recommendation. The community school strategy is a great strategy. It's just getting started in your district, and it's starting with these pilot schools. Eventually, the vision would be to continue to build a shared understanding of what it means to implement a community school strategy, and to commit to try to bring this to all of the schools in the district that are interested. And with that, I want to say thank you and see if you have any comments or questions for us.
I have a question for you. Do you know how many students, parents, and school employees responded to the survey?
Yes. So it was, let me find my notes. It was almost 4,500 total. The parents was about 530. The students was 3,126, and the staff was 787.
And were those numbers the numbers you were shooting for in terms of making this a scientific survey?
Aaron, do you want to answer that question?
Happy to. So this was really a rapid survey. Primarily, the purpose was to inform the community school planning work. So it wasn't intended to be a a scientific survey with a lot of attention to sampling size and methodology. It was really intended to surface what are the ideas, what are the perspectives that we're hearing, and help us move forward in service of community schools plan and as Dr. Rodriguez mentioned earlier, implementation grant for the California Community Schools Partnership Program.
And I'm assuming you guys do this for other districts other than ours, right?
Yes,
we've been involved in the community. Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
Yes, we've been working with some other districts. Every district and every community school looks a little bit different because it's so much driven by community members, by the staff, by the students. So we bring experience working with other districts, but it does look a little bit different in different districts.
Are the survey questions different district by district?
Somewhat, because we work with the Guiding Coalition and district staff to develop the questions that we think are going to capture most what the district needs to know. And some of it's going to be the same and overlap, but they're a little bit different in different
But
districts.
you know, it would really help me if you could forward us the results of other districts. It would give me a feel for, you know, where our responses lie and, you know, the difference in the environments and why students, family members, and staff answer the questions the way they do. It would, you know, it would just add meaning to and perspective. Is that possible?
I think that's something we'll have to look into and see what's possible. I think there are different approaches in terms of what's made publicly available or what's open to sharing.
Well,
so I think that's something we can circle back.
Yeah, like if you gave this same type of report in public session for other districts, then that makes it public information. I mean, a perfect one would be, you know, an environment that welcomes and celebrates diversity. If other districts are a lot lower than that or a lot higher, then that would inform me a lot more. You know what I mean? Because the way I see surveys, you're never going to get 100%. So what number is a good number, I guess, is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's a good question. Two other quick notes that come to mind. I think, again, just that our main goal with this survey was to help understand the different perspectives, the different thoughts about what's working well, what's a priority for strengthening or improving or doing differently. But I understand the point that it would be helpful to, you know, benchmark that or see, are these the same sorts of things that are coming up in other districts, or are we unique in some areas? One other source that might be helpful for that information is that there is both a statewide technical assistance center, transformational assistance center, and there are regional transformational assistance centers that are part of this California Community Schools Partnership Program. And they are interacting with many more districts than we are. I mean, we'll take our kind of follow-up item to see if there's more that we can share back with you. But we're just working with a relatively small number of districts. And the regional TA centers and potentially the statewide TA center may be able to shed more light on kind of what are some consistent priorities that are coming up that you could then compare. You know, are these the same things we're seeing, or are there areas where maybe our results are a little bit different?
And then my last question, where you have the huge differences like academic support, the students say 44% say they have it, but the parents say 24% of the parents say no. And then sports and extracurricular activities, the students are 50% positive, but the family members had 21%. What do you think causes the disconnect or the difference between how the students perceive it and the parents?
That's a really good question. And it's one of the reasons we asked all these different groups instead of just focusing on maybe what the staff would say or what the parents would say, because they all see things from a different lens, through a different perspective. And so it's hard to say why it's different. I think the most important thing is to recognize that these different groups have different perspectives.
And just to add, I think, what I really liked about the survey results is that it's good information, whether or not, we do have things in place. The perception may be that information is not reaching the masses, and that we need to do a better job of informing people about the different services that are being provided within the district. So when I looked at that particular question, the students are at school, we're marketing the assistance and programming to the students because they're the ones who are going to be going in and attending the tutoring. And also the information, the questions that the audience that we were looking at for many of these questions were secondary students. And so typically secondary students are not sharing information with their parents. And we find that parent engagement at the secondary level seems to decline. And so these results are probably consistent with that research.
I agree. I just, I've had a bunch of kids, and it just, when I look at the one for the sports and extracurricular activities, and where the students say 51% of the students say we're doing a good job, and only 21% of the parents, you can just envision these kids having these exciting days at school, doing this extracurricular stuff, and these playing all these sports, and when they get home, and the parents say, "What'd you do today?" and they say, "Nothing." But but I'll go to Mrs. Alexander next.
President Tillman, thank you for the presentation. I have a few questions. First, I noticed that there were no middle schools that are part of the community schools, so maybe I missed it. Is there any particular reason why there are no middle schools?
It was schools had to express interest in participating, and we didn't have any middle schools that felt like they were ready to participate in the pilot. I think we had one school submit some interest, but saying we'd like to do it the next year.
Thank you. Which leads into my next question. So surveys sometimes are answered. Sometimes people just want to answer them, right? And one question, I did hear that it was 4,500 responses, approximately 4,500 responses. How many surveys went out?
So this was an online survey, so links went out. So there weren't physically hard copy surveys that we could count.
Okay.
And to add to that, we did provide paper surveys to families that requested them. We also went on tour with the survey. We went to our different parent groups, as well as to the superintendent's parent advisory to present, and went over the questions with each of these parent advisory groups, as well as going to the student leadership group. So we try to hit all angles in making sure that information about the survey was out and understood.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. So did we explain the why behind the survey?
Yes, we did. We actually had a series of meetings, and we're basically, quote unquote, on tour for the entire year, making presentations to the various parent groups so that they understood that we were in the process of a planning grant. We gave information about what community schools were. We showed videos in English and Spanish to our various stakeholder groups so that they could better understand the community school concept, as well as the different components that were involved in the process.
Thank you. I have a few more questions. So district assets and district needs, who defined those? Was that from the survey, or was that our input from the district to the study?
So some of those came from the looking at the community school strategy and what they consider to be categories of assets. And so some of that wording was in the survey. It was up to the respondent, though, to interpret what they thought that meant. We didn't include specific definitions of each word. And then that's where the open-ended responses come in a little bit more too, is they were able to further explain some of their answers and rationale.
Thank you. And then
Clarifying.
Mhm.
Sorry to interrupt. Just a clarifying question. Was that a question about the slides that are titled "District Assets and District Needs"?
Yes.
In the slide deck.
Yes.
Oh, that came from the Guiding Coalition. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So.
And
okay.
those were their words, the words they used.
Okay. Thank you. And then the recommendation, which I'm pulling on what President Tillman shared with you in terms of just benchmarking. Was there any benchmarking when you provided these recommendations? And is there some insight that you can share with us? Because the recommendations, I would think, is referenced from some area of success maybe you've had with other schools, or your insight based on your subject matter expertise. So just curious to know a little bit more about how you came about your recommendations, and if you can provide us with some insight related to benchmarking.
I'm happy to start, Jennifer, and then if you want to add anything, please do. So I think there's a couple of different inputs, as you referenced, to drive the recommendations. One is just what we heard from the Guiding Coalition, from the surveys, from some of the focus groups, and engagement of existing teams. So that's one element. There's also the community schools pillars that Dr. Rodriguez introduced earlier on. So community schools is an evidence-based strategy. The state has adopted a framework that's rooted in that evidence that's really based on these 4 pillars. As we see recommendations around family engagement, community partnership, and shared decision-making, elevating student and family voice, which came up kind of in the context of a recommendation specific to bullying. Some of those things are drawing on the community school strategy itself and some of the pillars that are noted in the state framework and driven by that research. I think some is also related to opportunity and context, as we see major initiatives and investments that the state has made. So think about the Children and Youth Behavioral Health Initiative and connecting the need that we saw come up, or desire for increased access and quicker access to mental health services, and thinking about that need coming up in the context of a major statewide initiative to increase mental health, behavioral health services for children and youth. So I think it's kind of triangulated across some of those things, and certainly in the course of doing that analysis, we're bringing our experience working with community schools, working with school districts and school system.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Preciado. Ms. Rosales Medina first.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
And then Ms. Preciado will come to you, and then Ms. Bloomberg. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. First of all, thank you so much for the report. I met with several youth and community members regarding the community schools discovery programs that they were looking at having, and they mentioned that that there were some sites that were interested, and I'm glad you clarified some sites that were interested but weren't fully prepared yet, and that they would apply for next year. Are we preparing for next year for maybe adding several sites to the pilot as well?
So I'll answer that question. Right now, we're concerned about the grant application that we submitted in February. Once we know that we have some school in the process, then we'll look to add more schools in the second cohort for our school district. Right now, our priority is that those 6 schools that we submitted receive the grant. We won't know that for a few more weeks.
Okay. And I did notice that those that in the one that's in the report, it shows more in detail about the school sites and, you know, who are the ones that filled it out, students, families, and staff. And a few of those sites that were part of that application process, like for instance, in elementary school, some of them did really great with the surveys and other sites didn't do so well with surveys. And as I'm looking at certain school sites, some of the school sites had only 3 responses. And, you know, I assume sometimes students at a young age in elementary school, it's a little bit more difficult for them to respond. But I don't know why more families and staff wouldn't respond to those sites, to the survey at those specific sites that have only like 3 or 4 surveys filled out.
I think, you know, we acknowledge in the report that there's some limitations because ideally we would have loved to have more responses, but I think that's the challenge of a large district is just getting that message out to everyone. And some schools were proactive in, you know, having students take the survey at school or really encouraging their staff, really encouraging families, and others didn't, you know, weren't as interested maybe in the community schools strategy and possibly didn't put as much effort into getting responses. So even though it was pushed out district-wide, we also asked the school sites to help advertise it as well.
Okay. Yeah, I was even looking at the school sites that were selected to submit, didn't have great numbers compared to other school sites. I did like to see that, you know, for instance, Pacific High Schools had a lot of surveys submitted as well as maybe 1 or 2 more, but okay, those were my questions.
And I should clarify, and I'm sorry I didn't say this at the beginning, the student surveys were just for middle school and high school. So the elementary schools did not have a student survey.
Okay, good to know.
And also to add that many of our schools that were selected are smaller. So some of those schools may only have 12 teachers. And so the number proportionately, so when you're looking at a number of maybe 5 teachers, maybe they only had 10. But we were very adamant that we had stakeholder involvement, especially from our teacher groups, because we had a very strong, positive partnership with SBTA, CTA, who participated regularly in the conversations, and we felt that that was a non-negotiable. We needed to have staff on board in order to move forward with the community schools application.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you.
If I could piggyback on that for one additional note, I think certainly the survey, you know, we brought up some survey results and hope that that's useful to you all. But it wasn't the only way to show that commitment and engagement of different groups that are important to have on board. And part of that, you know, is lending to a sense of readiness. Is there buy-in, and not just of one group, but of all groups at the site? And so part of the opt-in process, that kind of application process that Jennifer mentioned earlier, was to have some indication that there was a shared desire across different groups to move forward, and that you had to show some sort of outreach or discussion, collaborative discussion, landing on that decision. So in addition to the survey results and to the question, in some cases where maybe there weren't quite as many survey results, that could be balanced out if there was more engagement through other vehicles.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Preciado.
Just want to say thank you so much for the presentation. My name is Jimena Preciado. I'm a student school board member representing San Gregorio High School. Just want to touch on a few topics. So it did come up about having strong high school pathways. So that is a kind of complex topic because there's sometimes that we want a lot, but then sometimes it gets too much, or sometimes we have to break it down a little bit. And it's not just about having a lot of pathways, but it's about having the right pathways. And also I do want to highlight to increase visibility and awareness of resources. We have so many resources, but a lot of students don't know about those resources. So I just really want to emphasize that we should highlight the awareness.
Thank you, Ms. Bloomberg. Ms. Rosenblum. Oh, Ms. Preciado, sorry.
And so my last final point is you guys did mention increased mental health support. So, and we do see that students, they scored 41%. So I do want to say what my club is doing is we're implementing wellness centers, and we want to continue to expand that for further schools. So I just want to say that that's currently what my school is working on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mrs. Rosenblum.
I wanted to piggyback off of what Jimena said about the availability time for the mental health. I've dealt and I'm still dealing with a bit of depression, and I wanted to state that yes, we may go out to go find therapists, but not everybody knows that it's a process. And I've been able to help myself with Slack and the board, but not everybody knows that for the past 3 months I've been asking for help and I still haven't gotten any help. So I just want people to know that they're not alone, that they have somebody that they can talk to, and I won't judge nobody because I've been in their shoes and I've been like mentally stable like where they have been, but I'm getting myself back together. So I just wanted to and also I go to Pacific, so yeah, there's my school, and so I just wanted to let people know that I'm there. I know how you guys feel. I know how it's felt, and that they're not alone. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rosenblum. Next is Mrs. Grande.
Okay, so just to clarify, so we're getting these reports because we're in the process of becoming community schools, or it's a discussion still, or it's a path
Hold on.
or a grant?
Answer the question, please.
I will answer the question. We're getting this information because the district received a planning grant for us to explore the viability and interest for community schools. We also, with that money, we went through a process to select schools. We have 6 schools that self-selected and that went through a process. And so the Community Schools Initiative is one that has many people who are interested in, especially some of our community nonprofit organizations, as well as families and parents. And so we wanted to make sure that this whole process was done where anybody that wanted information about it would be able to receive it. It's a good thing, and it's something that we feel will make a positive difference to the schools and to the school district.
So would this be working alongside, say, our own promotion that had just started under Superintendent Arellano, when we have this multi-year, multi-year vision, or is that a separate? Does it work side by side? It sounds like it has many of the same goals and objectives together. And actually, I like ours better, and I'll tell you right now why. Is because they talk about mental health service, they talk about caring and supported teachers, but they don't ever use the actual term kindness as a value. And I'm going to push for that word because it's very powerful. I have just met too many people that, when given a choice between being right and being kind, chose being right. And that's with teachers, administrators, and students, just everyone, and everybody wants to be right, but if you do it unkindly, you create mental health issues.
You can be right and kind.
Yeah, that's right. But you have to have mental health issues. Simply means people are unhappy. That means they're not happy. They're in danger. So they cannot learn because the amygdala does not allow learning when they're in a fight, flight, freeze, or appease mode.
Thank you for that
Yes.
question. So everything that we do is in support of our superintendent and the vision that he and the board have worked together to create. This is just one strategy that will align the values of community and providing the resources. It basically is kind of a label to be recognized. Many of the services that will be provided in the community school model are already provided at our schools. We have wellness programs at our campuses. We are growing our school district with school-based health clinics. And so all of those are in line with the vision of our superintendent.
And let me just say, I mean, there's been discussion and wants for community schools for a number of years now. And ICUC and COPE have done presentations here before the board for years. So it didn't start when Mr. Yana got here, but he's going to continue it, and we're moving forward. And this is more progress in that direction. Ms. Chahusky.
Thank you. So first I want to thank you three for the presentation tonight. I'm very excited, and I'm a big supporter of community schools. I'm excited that we have gone after this grant to support our schools. I think those six schools are some schools that can really use that community support, district community support. I found a lot of value, and also I saw some consistency with our panorama data from the last few years. So having this outside validation from a different of some of the things that we've been talking about and that I hear, I appreciate. I've talked a lot about safety, school safety, safe and welcoming schools, our school culture. That's been a big thing for me. It was interesting because when they talked about the dream schools, there were 6 bullets related to safe and welcoming schools and 1 on academic resources. So I felt like, or I'm wondering, I guess this is somewhat of a question, like, can we interpret from this data that is something that our parents or our families, our school communities are wanting in terms of how they see what they need, what they see that they need to be able to have academic success?
So I really, when I saw that response in the survey, I was really excited to see that because sometimes we think that priorities are for basic needs, but we see a community that is asking for rigor, is asking to be educated, and asking for opportunity to advance in their education. And so I see that as something that's very positive, and I believe that it is in line with the work that Ed Services is doing in providing additional supports with our learning centers, getting our teachers out in the community, providing additional resources with tutoring at home. So I think it's just almost like a perfect storm in the sense that these things are coming together. And what we're really excited about is that these particular schools would have additional funding to be able to, so that we can create models for the synergy around all of this work, because this is just another strategy so that we can increase student achievement. And so, like I said, I was really delighted to see the voice of the community saying that academic achievement is important to them.
And then I thought I heard Ms. O'Donnell say that there was not an elementary survey, but I see elementary responses in the list of schools. A couple
So
of elementary.
It was supposed to be 6th through 12th grade. And so my understanding is some of the schools may be called elementary, but have up to 6th grade, but
that would explain it. Thank you. Yeah, when you said middle and high school, but we do have a number of elementary schools that have sixth graders. The last thing is kind of, actually, I'll worry about that later. When I was going through the recommendations on recommendation 4, where it talked about student family concerns, bullying, elevating student and family voice and solutions, I know, we just won a Golden Bell for exactly that, a program and to cover anti-bullying teams, which are all about elevating student voice in that sort of conflict mediation does the same thing. So I'm hoping that whatever our plan is there's something in there to scale that up so that we have effective teams at every school site. But that leads me to, what is the next step? Like where are we, what is our expectation tonight, and where are we going? Because like I said, I'm really excited. I'd like to get these 6 schools going, and then I'd like to go for more community schools. And then, also resurvey at that point in time to kind of see where we are, if we've moved the needle at all. So what are the next steps?
So I appreciate the question. And when I saw that response for regarding bullying, again, it's information. And what that shows is that people are not aware of the stellar programs that we offer in positive youth development, specifically around conflicts, resolving conflict, as well as the undercover anti-bully teams. And so that information needs to become more prevalent and available. And so that's what that information is telling us. PYD is providing information around anti-bullying. We have our PYD University. We're leading the work with our vice principals around interventions. And so we believe that we're making some great strides in getting that information out. Our next steps at this particular time are to, one, we're waiting for confirmation that we are going to receive the grant. If we do, then we will move forward. So these next couple of months, we will continue to work with the Glenn Price group so that we can get more detailed in our plans at these particular school sites. We want to make sure that they're ready to implement once we get the go-ahead that we have been awarded the grants. So that's kind of our next steps. Once we start developing the community schools concepts at the school sites, and we have an opportunity to involve more schools, of course, we will open that opportunity and support any school that has the support of their stakeholders, so their partners, because community school concept only works when there's a synergy around people working together in concert for student success. And so we need to have buy-in and ownership from our different groups in order for the community school concept to really flourish. So at this particular time, to recap, we're waiting for confirmation that we will receive the grant. In the meantime, we're continuing to work with these 6 schools so that they can get more detailed on their plans so that we can move forward as soon as the grant is awarded.
And I wanted to add about a way to look at the needs. Some of the things that people said are strengths of their school are also the things that they really want to see continue to get better. So just because something was selected as a need doesn't necessarily mean there isn't anything good happening. It just means that it's important to whoever answered that question.
Okay, Ms. Ceballos.
Thank you, and I'll try to be brief, as many questions that I had have to some degree been answered, but mainly just for, I guess, informational purposes, did we get any information in the report regarding demographic of respondents? Did we collect that information when people were submitting their responses? Was that something asked? Did we look at that?
We didn't break down the results any further by, race or ethnicity or language spoken. So we weren't able to pull the results in that way.
Okay. And then I do see here the guiding coalition. I was just wondering, one of the questions that I had was what composed this, but I kind of read that in your other package. You know, it was composed, it says here, of school principals, site level staff, community partners, etc. How did these individuals get selected, though, to participate?
I'll answer that question. So many of these folks had self-selected. Our principals, when we had an all call for anybody that would be interested in participating and learning about community schools and leading the work. And so we did have, it was kind of open-ended. The community partner that was very integral in this work was ICUC. They had been championing this work for many, many years. And so we made sure that we invited both Tom Dolan and Sergio Luna to participate. We also ended up, as Tom was on a sabbatical and then Sergio had some other projects, they brought in additional people. And so they were part of that. We invited all of our parent presidents so that because they were representatives of particular groups of families. So we had our DAC president and co-chair. We had DAAAC, we had DLAC, and we also had CAC as part of the conversations that were had. We also had counselors who were interested in the concept that, you know, through community meetings that Mr. Arellano had. Many of them, you know, some people mentioned they'd like to participate, and so he gave me their names and I invited them to participate. So we tried to keep it as open and inclusive. If someone had interest, we welcomed them, because the more people that we heard from was something that we wanted and that we valued.
Thank you. Thank you. And then my last question, initially, I didn't realize that the survey had been open to the whole district. I initially thought that it had only been open to those schools that were going to be participating. So with that being said, just for the sake of, you know, not creating confusion, were those individuals notified that were responding to the survey that the programs were going to be implemented at the schools that we're looking at implementing them and not their school site?
So the survey was open as we were we didn't know which schools were going to be selected when the survey was done. The survey was sent out to all respondents so that we could collect information to see what the overarching trends for the district were. And so from that was a component of the package and requirements for the community school application. So when people were answering the survey, there wasn't a sense or any guarantee given that the information was going to be at their particular school, although they referenced their particular school in how they answered the question. It's important to note that as we build the community schools will not necessarily have the same programs or the same services at the different schools, because the community school or that campus is providing unique services to their unique population. And so we kind of equated it that we have a high school that's very high in English learners, high in students who are parenting teens. We have a school that has a higher number of African-American students and families. And so those programs may look different because of the community in which they serve. And that is something that the families liked, as well as, you know, us as kind of the people who are moving it forward, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. We want to make sure that we meet the needs of distinct communities, because you could have schools within 3 miles of each other and they have unique needs.
But we have the data available to to isolate based on this survey according to the needs of each school. Correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. We didn't publish it, but we provided each school with their, each school leadership, we provided them with the data for their school. And part of what they did in those community meetings was go over some of those results with their team of parents, students, community members, and use that as a starting point to talk about what their priorities would be under the community schools model.
Got it. Thank you.
And the challenge is all schools didn't participate at the same level, right? Ms. Preciado.
I would just like to piggyback on what Mickey had said about bullying. I was also part of the undercover investigating team, and it was so nice to be part of something so impactful. I mean, there was a student, I've had many cases already, but usually we try to focus on little by little, but we had a student where he was treating so badly on the other school. He didn't find a place. And then now transferring to Sanji, having this team with me and my other peers, it just felt so nice. And now he loves Sanji. He felt so welcomed, and I just feel like I was so proud that I was part of something so impactful, because he was going through depression, he was going through, helplessness, and it just felt so good that he was, feeling loved and welcomed at Sanji. So I feel like you will always find a place at San Bernardino School District in a school.
Thank you very much. And thank you for a great report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Section 8, board discussion. And 8.1, there is a request for a sponsorship. This was the Socialites, the 57th Annual Botillion Scholarship Program. I participated in the Botillion program in 1981, and it's a great program. They give great scholarships to our students, and they really introduced the students to the community. I didn't know at the time, but really my introduction to one aspect of it was it ended up being an introduction to local politics for me, because I went out and met all the leaders in the community, and when you go to ask people for to buy an ad and support you, and you have someone like I did, who was a lady named Mrs. Beverly Jackson, who recruited me to participate in the Botillion. She pulled out her Rolodex at the time and gave me a list of people to go meet with. And I didn't think it was a big deal at the time. From my perspective, I was begging for money. I didn't like doing it. But it really did introduce me to a lot of people who wanted to support me. And that's what these young men are getting right now. I know we bought a table. I'd like to ask that we do the $1,000 sponsorship also. I'm looking for a consensus for that. And I'll make the motion to sponsor the Socialites at $1,000. And then I have comments. First we have Miss Medina, and then we'll go to, Miss Grande, and then Miss Medina.
Well, I'm familiar with this organization when I was a student body president and the vice president at the same time. And John Futch was my dear friend, and he's the one that really got me involved and he took me to the Black Rose and introduced me into that world, and it just so much hope and aspirations and dreams there. It's almost intoxicating. It's so exciting. So I support this fully.
Thank you. And then Ms. Medina.
I was going to ask, with regards to the corporate sponsor, which is $1,000, it includes a table. Is that, so you're asking an additional? So that'd be 2 tables?
No, just one. If it includes a table, let's do the $1,000 sponsorship.
Okay, yeah, because it includes a table.
That's fine.
Okay.
Vote, please. Ms. Rosenblum?
Aye.
Ms. Preciado?
Aye.
Karen, I cannot vote.
She's recusing herself, which means she just, yeah. Well, she didn't, so you can, but I was told that you don't have to.
Okay, I still need Ms. Ceballos and Ms. Jahusky.
I still don't have anything.
Can you change Mrs. Alexander's to not abstain, but she just recused herself? Right. There you go. Thank you. And I'm saying that for the board because it makes a difference. All right. That brings us to section 9, action items. 9.1, personnel report.
As presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Husky and second by Ms. Medina. Vote, please.
Aye.
Ms. Grande?
9.2, resolution for allowance of attendance of emergency conditions Parkside Elementary School.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Ceballos and second by Mr. Husky. Vote, please.
Aye.
Ms. Jahusky?
9.3, 2024 California School Board Association Delegate Assembly Election. The official ballot for the election of representatives to California School Board Association Delegate Assembly has been received and must be postmarked on or before March 15, 2024. Because of our large student enrollment, the San Bernardino City Unified School District Board appoints 2 representatives. Right now we have Myra Ceballos and Ms. Mickey Chahusky. In addition to these 2 appointments, there are 6 vacancies in San Bernardino County Subregion 16B. The board as a whole may vote for no more than 6 representatives. The following individuals are candidates for these vacancies, and you can just throw out names. I'll throw out Barbara Dew.
Motion, if you would entertain it.
Go ahead.
I would like to move for Scott Wyatt, Clayton Moore, Cindy Gardner, Barbara Dew, and Tom Courtney.
Any objection to that? There's a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Vote, please.
Aye.
Ms. Medina.
Ms. Rosales Medina?
Motion passed. Section 10, consent items. 10.1, approval of consent list. A motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Husky and second by Ms. Ceballos. Any to pull? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
President Wyatt, the students should vote on this.
Ms. Preciado,
Aye.
Ms. Rosenblum,
Aye.
thank you.
And Myra, were you an aye?
Motion passed. Section 11, reports, comments by union organizations. 11.1, San Bernardino Teachers Association.
No report.
11.2, California School Employees Association.
No report.
11.3, Communication Workers of America.
No report.
And 11.4, San Bernardino School Police Officers Association.
And no report.
Section 12, mandated policy revisions. 12.1, adoption of board policy 6174, education for English learners.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Medina and second by Mrs. Alexander. Vote, please. Ms. Rosenblum,
Aye.
Ms. Preciado,
Aye.
Aye.
motion carried. Section 13, 13.1, reports by board members. And I'll start with Ms. Shahusky.
Thank you, and happy Tuesday, everyone. First, I want to say I went to the mob at Gomez Elementary School, and those are so fun. If you haven't had a chance to get to one, I know some of you it's more difficult for, but if you ever have that opportunity, it's just watching the kids' faces, and they're just kind of like, why are these crazy adults all here at my school high-fiving me? But you can tell they love every minute of it. There are all these big smiles on their faces, and I think the schools really appreciate just showing up and being there. And it doesn't take very long. You're usually done by 9 o'clock, out of there. So, maybe you can, go before work or something like that. I went to my first middle school sports activity. I went to the Richardson-Serrano basketball game at Chavez. Serrano eked out a double overtime win. It was a crazy game. They have a young man on that Serrano team that I expect to see at one of our high schools playing basketball because he was phenomenal. But it was a really great game, and I give kudos to all of the students from Richardson and Serrano that played because they played a really, really good game. I also want to thank Samantha for inviting me to the SBCUSD Charter School Leaders meeting. I had not had an opportunity to meet with our charter school leaders. If you haven't gone, it's the principals and vice principals from some of the charter schools in the area that just have some conversations about what's going on, the activities that they're having, and sometimes their interactions with the school district and our charter school department and stuff like that. So it was very interesting. They were very welcoming. They meet on a regular basis. If you reach out to Samantha, I'm sure she'll let you know when the next one is. But I was really happy to have been able to go and listen to them. And then I just wanted to say I'm going to be missing this year because of my schedule, a lot of our art showcases, and I enjoy them so much, our performing arts showcases. Our students are amazing. And so to Scott Nelson and to all of our kids, I apologize because I would be there on behalf of my mom and dad, who were music teachers in this district, cheering every last one of them on. So I will be cheering them on. I just won't be in the audience, and hopefully, I don't know if we record them, but so I can watch later, but I would love to be able to see that because they're just so good. happy Women's History Month, and I hope everybody just has a great couple weeks before I see you next.
Thank you, Mr. Husky. Ms. Ceballos.
I don't have many comments. I just do want to say as well, Happy Women's History Month. As well, I think I read it's also Social Workers Week, I believe, and just shout out to them as well for all of the help and support they provide our students and our families. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Ms. Grande.
Okay, thank you. I had a really wonderful start to or month so far. I've been doing the Read Across America, Madgas Tortillas, and I started at Highland Pacific, and Emerton gave me a choice. I could do it in person or on our video. So thanks to our great IT department, I am now a bona fide YouTube star. Look for Mary Ellen A. Grande reads Magda's Tortillas. And I didn't use any puppets this time. It was just me, all me. Secondly, I do want to mention that I went to my second CABE this past month, and I was very excited. My head is just bursting with all the wonderful things I learned. I love learning things. And I walked easily 20 miles, especially after I lost my purse and I have to keep going back and forth. But good thing is I made a new friend in the IT department. I made new friends, John Applegate, relationship to Mama Applegate. And who was that other young man he was working with, the other?
Oh, I don't remember the last
Ricardo,
name,
that's
Ricardo.
it. He and Ricardo, they're just beautiful young men. Oh, just it was instant kismet there. And Dr. Barbara Flores did, as usual, an incredible job leading. I heard 7,500 attendees. It just incredible. And then our magnificent superintendent just had everyone in the palm of his hand. He's a very magnetic personality. We're very proud of him representing our district. And I don't know. I think he got a lot of attention, especially when the biggest speaker we had just knew him by name and was so happy to see him. I was so proud. And I did see Teresa Alba there, and we were talking, and I think she would like to go to college and get a college degree, and I encouraged her, and I told her I would help mentor her. I stopped short of saying I'd do her homework for her, but it's maybe an option. Would be the first time. But anyway, I didn't quite understand though with CABE why we were, as we left the general session and some other areas, we were given a flyer to sign to protest the assembly, some bill 2222, a bill moving through the legislation against making the flyer was for us to say that we were against the bill using the science of reading making the science of reading in schools mandatory. And I was uncomfortable because there wasn't any discussion of the pros and cons. So it was just here, be sure to sign it on your way out and leave it here. And it was like, I'm going to sign my name on something I'm not sure about. So that's the only thing I felt was a little bit clumsy. The bill includes training for teachers, those in teacher prep programs, and special attention to English learners. I don't really quite understand that, but we'll see down the road what happens. But all in all, it was wonderful. Saturday, I'll be at the Your Voice Matters Symposium at this Saturday at Cal State, so I'll stay tuned for that. My first time going to that too. And I am also going to be attending this is a notice. I will be at the CCSA convention in Long Beach, the 18th to the 21st. So if it's okay with you, I'll be remote for both the multi-year vision and the board meeting that week. Just put that in the notes. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Grande. Ms. Medina.
But likewise with everybody else, I'm really excited that this month is Women's Month, and all the many contributions that we have made. And so I honestly am proud of the fact that we're moving in a direction where women are compared to what it was before. We're growing and we're ahead of the game, I think, in so many ways. I also I know today's election day and the votes have closed. I do want to propose that we look at voter engagement. I think this cycle has been really low in getting individuals out to vote. I want to propose that maybe our high schools can be a polling location. I know our elementary schools, but we want to motivate our high school students that are ready to vote and pre-register to vote, those that are 18, if that's even a possibility to have our high schools be polling locations. They do, but we want to promote it. I mean, we want to promote it that this is something that you want to be engaged in. Like I mentioned, the voter turnout is extremely low, and how do we help the future generations see the importance of voting?
Thank you, Ms. Medina. Mrs. Alexander.
Thank you. I also want to say Happy Women's History Month, and March 8th is International Women's History Day. So I'm hoping that our schools are inspiring our scholars to really honor that day, because it's an opportunity to honor the impact that women have had around the world. And it's a very important day because none of us would be here if we didn't, because of our mothers. So yeah. Which leads me into, I attended Majority Leader Eloise Reyes Gomez's review of just the success of her year. And one of the bills that she covered was actually presented to her by way of some Girl Scouts. And the bill focuses on making sure that our elementary schools have tampons. And it's for third graders. And the reason why they did present that to her is because young ladies are now starting their cycle a little bit earlier, and there was an importance behind that. And so they were the ones that brought it to her attention, because it was not of notice until they took the initiative. So something to be said about our youth and them taking the risk and making an impact in legislation. Also, I had an opportunity to attend the Ebony Triangle review, and our superintendent was one of the presenters. So thank you, Superintendent Arianos, for advocating and presenting what we are doing in San Bernardino City Unified School District for our African American scholars, and really addressing the achievement gap. Really appreciate you taking that time to do so, as well as your staff that was there. So Anna Applegate and Dr. Greer, thank you for taking that time. Also, I had an opportunity to visit Fairfax Elementary. So my inspiration for going to Fairfax Elementary is I have met Dr. Alexander a few times, but Mrs. Marquez kept coming and talking about the school and the street that was moving, going inside between the school and I guess the other side of it was a kind of like a play area. So I was curious. And so I had an opportunity to visit the school site. I know that the city is working with the school to address that concern, but I was really impressed. So first of all, I told him I would show the shirt that he gave me. I wasn't able to wear it because of my picture that I had to take today, but I was really appreciative of Dr. Alexander, because he went through just the success that has occurred at his school since he's been principal, and really focusing on the achievement gap. But he also provided me with a presentation that I haven't received thus far from any other school, where he showed like their science project, the partnerships that he has with different churches, one in particular next door to him, but another church who has donated shoes. But it was just, I love the community engagement and also his intentional leadership. He also took me around and introduced me to his staff. I went to classes and really kind of saw like what the teachers were doing, and got to meet the students, the ones that were playing on the playground. But it was really a great experience. It was just really me out of curiosity to find out what the problem is related to the school, which I did see it from my own eyes. But the very fact that he gave me that presentation, I was impressed with it, and just impressed with the fact that I don't think that he's been a principal, but for about a year, has he been, and a year and a half. And so be able to see the improvement that has occurred on his campus was impressive as well. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. I'd like to also say Happy Women's History Month. Mr. Ariano.
Thank you, President Tillman and members of the board and community watching in. Just want to say that we are getting close to the end of presenting our multi-year vision. I know the board, cabinet, our community committee has been working diligently, and to Mary Roan's credit, she has put together our first little prototype of the pamphlet that you see before you. So we are still on the 11th hour working on some language changes and some design changes, but I wanted to share with the board just kind of the first iteration of the pamphlet. So coming up next week, our community committee will meet for the second and last time, and this will be their opportunity to take a look at this document and give us their last impressions, their last suggestions in terms of language, design, and just validating whether or not we are meeting exactly what our community shared with us, what our test data tells us we need to be focused on, and what our Board of Education has directed us to be focused on. So we're still hoping that on March 19th, we will come to you with a final product that the board will be proud of, that the board will support and lend their support behind, and it'll be kind of our guiding force between now and 2030. And just to remind the community, these are the statements that we're making to the community and saying these are going to be the areas of focus that we're going to work on between now and 2030. When the board approves this multi-year vision in March, then cabinet will begin to work on that action plan behind the scenes. To be specific, those metrics that you've been asking, those key performance indicators, and creating a timeline as to how often we will monitor these key performing indicators so that we can see whether or not we're on the right track or whether there has to be some subtle changes along the way. So we're very excited about the work. And as you flip through the document, you'll see that the title's on the front, of course. Our mission statement is in the inside. Then we have our statements, our 5 pillar statements regarding the 6 pillar statements. And then the specific bullets, the specific criteria that we're going to be working on within each one of those areas. I wanted you to note that we did move SBCUSD strong, the first S, to the beginning. We had it at the end, but it was important to you and to our community committee that that needed to be the first thing that we mentioned in our pamphlet was the pride and just how proud we are of the work that we are and that we are from San Bernardino and great things happen right here. So I appreciated that recommendation. So I leave you with this pamphlet so that you can take home with you. And if you see any additional recommendations or suggestions, please feel free to email me. Some of you have already provided me some suggestions, and maybe you don't see those changes on here. It's because we printed this prototype before you sent me some of those suggestions. So I know Ms. Alexander sent some, so we're going to be working on that. But I want you to be rest assured that any changes or suggestions that you or the community committee make, we're gonna put it on there because this is a group effort. So, yes,
is
sir.
there a reason why the board member names aren't on it?
No, there isn't, other than because board members may change, and this document is going to live between now and 2030. But if that's a wish that the board would like, we can certainly include that.
I think it should. And I'll tell you, not necessarily just because board members want to see their name, but it really does provide parents, the community, and students with access. And the board plays a huge role in the district, and there aren't a lot of times when the community reaches out to board members, but when they do, it's because it's something that is a big deal. So it helps them not to have to guess who they can reach out to if they need something. And a lot of times they'll get this document, read through it, and then have a issue or concern, and we would be looking for who can I contact? And then right now you have the website, but the name's not there. I just think it helps. It just provides a sense of legitimacy to it, and the board is signing on to it. We could put board members in and the superintendent also, but I think those names should be in there.
Excellent suggestion, President Tillman. We will work on that. Thank you.
A photo now. We just got our picture taken.
Okay, we'll put the photos
the
in
group
there.
photo,
All right.
yeah, sure.
Mayor Rowe? Got to keep working your magic on that document. Let me just keep moving down my items. So anyway, any feedback you have, please, we welcome that. We appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to Lawrence Hardy, who is our program specialist in the ETSA department, and to the ETSA department in general. They put on a spectacular Black History Celebration presentation over at Indian Springs High School. It truly was amazing. It brought the community together. It talked about historical figures that usually are not talked about, so there was a lot of learning opportunities. And they brought two amazing inspirational speakers that were just incredible. And the highlight was Will's secretary, Phyllis Hammond, singing a beautiful rendition of Billie Holiday's Summertime. It was amazing. But I just want to thank Lawrence because it's his creation, his just creativity of putting together events. So much love to Lawrence and everyone. That was a great event. So thank you for that. I also want to echo what Mary Ellen spoke about. I was able to attend the CABE conference, and I was very proud to represent the San Bernardino City Unified School District as the honorary chair. And I was able to do the morning greeting on Friday morning right before Dr. Tyrone Howard spoke, which we were able to reconnect since our days in Redlands. But it was nice to get up there and brag a little bit about our school district and let the world know that we have 25 schools with dual immersion programs. We have a high school with dual immersion programs. We have over 500 students that earn the seal of biliteracy every year. And we have preschools with dual enrollment programs. So it was really nice to get up there and validate the great work that our teachers, our principals, our district office have done over the years to put us on the map. And I had the opportunity to also thank Dr. Barbara Flores, as Alan mentioned, for her many years of service to the school district. And now she's doing great work for public education, not only with CABE, but at the California Department of Ed. And we heard from two great speakers, keynote speakers that week, Dr. Victor Rios, professor at UC Santa Barbara, and of course, Dr. Tyrone Howard at UCLA. And I'm proud to report that both of them will be coming here. Dr. Rios will be presenting to our managers during a summer management conference. And Dr. Tyrone Howard is scheduled to be the keynote speaker to our teacher welcome back in July. So it's great to have these high-powered, well-respected, nationally known educational researchers right here for our staff to learn from. And I also want to give kudos to our parent engagement department and our EXL department, who put on two wonderful workshops that were packed to capacity, showing the great work that is happening right here in San Bernardino. And thank you to our IT department, who also volunteered to provide CABES and support. And piggybacking on Ms. Alexander stated, I also want to thank COPE, which is the Congregations of Organized for Prophetic Engagement, for the opportunity to participate in the Ebony Triangle meeting. And with my colleagues, superintendent colleagues from Fontana Rialto, we had an opportunity, a 2-minute opportunity, to really talk about the good work that we're trying to do, acknowledging where maybe we haven't done so well, but also being optimistic of the work that we're going to do and move forward. So I really appreciate that opportunity. And I am looking forward to being part of the Black Education Congress that I believe is scheduled in the spring, so that we have an opportunity to be more specific with the community about what we're doing, the programs that are in place, the programs that we plan on having in place, and how we're going to be showing that our African-American students are truly going to be hitting that achievement that they deserve to be at and that we need to push hard for. So I do want to thank COPE for that opportunity. And last but not least, I always like to end with opportunities for the district to shine. Today, the California Department of Education released the list of the 31 model continuation high schools. Let me let you know that there's 430 continuation schools in the state of California, and Sierra High School was selected as one of those 31. So congratulations to Principal Hector Murrieta, the staff, the students, and the parents of Sierra High School, because they are truly making us shine. And with that, that's all I have today, President Tillman. Thank you.
Thank you. And 14.1, review request.
Good evening. The first request is from Ms. Ceballos. She asked, what is the district's protocol or procedure regarding a parent complaint when they disagree with the outcome. How is the school supposed to respond? Is there a timeline? If the parent disagrees, what is the alternative? Student Board Member Preciado and co-requester President Tillman requested to agendize how students can increase testing awareness and preparedness. Student Board Member Rosenblum requested increased campus security officers at larger campuses. Pacific High School, for example. President Tillman asked for the community school survey results from other school districts to compare and give context to SBC USD's results. Ms. Rosales Medina requested to promote voting and have our high schools as polling places. And lastly, President Tillman would like to include board members' names in the Shines pamphlet. Thank you.
Motion to be adjourned.
Oh, second.
Meeting adjourned.